Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Barakahakodash, Barakatum. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai. Double honors to the apostles and elders, the great millstone who rule and teach well. And peace and salutations to you sincere Akim out there, pushing this word in truth and sincerity to the four corners of the globe. May you brothers endure until the end. This is the brother THRU.S.A with another video, and in this video, I'll be profiling an article from endoftheamericandream.com titled, "Come to America, we have flesh-eating bacteria, open-air drug markets, millions of rats, and lots of fentanyl." And this is just another video documenting the continual decline of the United States of America, which is biblically known as Babylon the Great, as well as spiritual Sodom in Revelation 11 verse 8. We're living in the twilight hours of the United States of America being a superpower. It's going down and will ultimately be wiped off the face of the earth by 200 million nuclear missiles, which is going to turn it into the biblical lake of fire from sea to shining sea, and then a desolate, uninhabitable wasteland afterwards. So this website, endoftheamericandream.com, is aptly named because we truly are living at the end of this so-called American dream, which has just been a nightmare for the planet Earth, especially for the children of Israel, who knows the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans today. Let's get into it. Once upon a time, Ronald Reagan described America as a shining city on a hill that the rest of the world could look to for inspiration. What? Rape, robbery, murder, lies, deceits, assassinations. Well, those days are gone. So what is our pitch now? Come visit America, where you can watch people buy fentanyl-laced drugs in an open-air drug market, and where addicts are free to defecate on the sidewalks whenever they want. And don't forget about the rats. We have armies of those, and I'm not just talking about the politicians. In the middle of the 20th century, most of our major cities were safe, clean, and full of hard-working, industrious people. But now many of our major urban areas have become crime-infested hellholes that are absolutely teeming with predators. The only example that we seem to be setting for everyone else on the planet is a bad one. Just look at what has happened to San Francisco. It is one of the wealthiest cities in the entire world, and at one time it was incredibly picturesque. But now crime, drugs, and organized looting have made many areas of the city almost unlivable. And it's not just San Francisco. It's a lot of other places around the U.S. as well. And down here in New Orleans, this place is just a complete fucking shithole. I always talk about it in my videos, but I have an app called Newsbreak where you can look at the local news that's taking place in the city, and there are murders, carjackings, and grape is going up as well, taking place damn near every day in this city. This week, Cotopaxi CEO Davis Smith created quite a stir when he explained why his company was closing a store in San Francisco that just opened last year. We opened a retail store a year ago on Hayes Street, the charming shopping district just blocks away from the famous Full House home. Our first week there, our windows were smashed and thousands of dollars of product was stolen. We replaced the window and it immediately happened again, 4 times. We replaced window with plywood as we waited for a month plus to get a metal security gate installed. A demand for those gates is creating huge delays. As of today, we are closing the store due to rampant organized theft and lack of safety for our team. Our store is hit by organized theft rings several times per week. They brazenly enter the store and grab thousands of dollars of products and walk out. And hey, stuff like this is happening down here in New Orleans as well. Just a couple of weeks ago, on a strip called South Carrollton, well, Carrollton as a whole, it's got South Carrollton and North Carrollton, you had this recently opened Mexican restaurant on South Carrollton get busted into and thousands of dollars worth of equipment was stolen. And then on North Carrollton, you have a place called Felipe's, another Hispanic food restaurant that was busted into and had equipment stolen. And then just a street over, you had this confectionery place called like Brown Butter or Brown Sugar, broken into and had stuff stolen as well. And then across the street from Felipe's, you had somebody get shot to death in front of Baskin Robbins. And then on the building over, you have a Jimmy John's, and a guy, I think he was 17, he got off the job and he had some people waiting for him, and they sent him to the upper room as well. It's just chaos down here, and it seems like it's chaos everywhere else, and it's only going to intensify as we get deeper and deeper into Jacob's trouble, and all these calamities just continue to take people out in bigger and bigger numbers, because we're living in the times of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai, judging the people on this planet, especially in the United States of America, for all the wickedness they've been committing. They brazenly enter the store and grab thousands of dollars of product and walk out. We started keeping the door locked and opening it only for customers, but even then they'll have a woman go to the door, and then hiding individuals rush into the store as soon as the doors open. Our team is terrified. They feel unsafe. Security guards don't help because these theft rings know that security guards won't/can't stop them. It's impossible for a retail store to operate in these circumstances, especially when cities refuse to take any action, despite us paying taxes well above any other state we operate in. The city recently announced a reduction of police presence in this neighborhood despite mass-scale crime. And what have we been seeing take place all across the country for the past couple of years? Calls for defunding and defunding of police departments, and a lot of police leaving the force due to them feeling a negative reception from the populace and just not feeling like they have any support for the job they're doing. And a lot of them left due to the C-19 dictates pushing for them to get the jab, which they didn't want to get. So now you've got less people in the police force and even less people wanting to join the academy to become police, which is another example down here in New Orleans. The few people that are joining the police academy, a lot of them burn out before graduation. So with less of a police presence on the streets, in these neighborhoods, in these business districts, what do you think is going to happen? Crime is only going to increase. Let's get into some precepts. This is Isaiah chapter 24. I'm going to start at verse 7. The new wine mourneth, the vine languisheth, all the merry-hearted do sigh. And from those few paragraphs we've read, the merry-hearted in America definitely are sighing, seeing an uptick in crime, drug addiction, lawlessness, you name it. The mirth of the tabrets ceaseth, the noise of them that rejoice endeth, the joy of the harp ceaseth. And you're seeing a lot of this mirth and noise of rejoicing ending around these holidays due to the bird flu killing off a lot of chickens and turkeys. That means that the price of turkey has gone up, and a lot of people won't be able to afford Thanksgiving meals. So there's the joy and the mirth of Thanksgiving going out. And due to inflation and rising candy prices, a lot of people said we're not going to give candy out for Halloween because we just can't afford it. Hey, the thrill is gone out of this place. They shall not drink wine with a song. Strong drink shall be bitter to them that drink it. Instead of going out and drinking and having a good time or having a house party with some liquor, hey, people are drinking to drown out the bitterness they're feeling from this cost of living crisis, inflation, high food, gas and rent prices, burglaries, businesses going out, etc., etc. The city of confusion is broken down. And when you go into the word Babylon in the Strong's Concordance, in the Hebrew, it's Babel, which means confusion. The United States of America, Babylon the Great, is the city of confusion, and it's getting broken down, as we clearly see from the information we're reading about in that article. Every house is shut up that no man may come in. Businesses going out. And we see in that article that that guy decided to close down his business due to it just constantly getting broken into. And then you're hearing from CEOs all across the country saying that due to the recession that's coming, hey, they expect to lay off thousands of workers. And then a lot of these smaller businesses are going to shut up because they just can't afford to do business anymore. There's a crying for wine in the streets. All joy is darkened. The mirth of the land is gone. And that crying for wine is ultimately people crying out for answers out here. Why is this going on? Why is inflation taking place? Why is a recession coming? Why is crime running rampant? But the only place you're going to get the answers is from the men of the Lord, the prophets of the Most High, chiefly through GMS or Great Millstone, as well as the brothers that come in the spirit of GMS, going into these scriptures and breaking down to you exactly why these things are going to take place and what comes next. Now I'm going to jump to Matthew chapter 24, verse 12. And because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. And when we go into that word iniquity in the Strongs, it's G458, anomia, the condition of without law, because ignorant of it, because of violating it, contempt and violation of law, iniquity, wickedness. And this is ultimately talking about the world being without the laws, statutes, and commandments of Yahweh Bahashem Yahawashi in the scriptures being enforced. But it can also be talking about just these different laws of these different governments. And like I just said, there's been a call for defunding and defunding of the police, and a lot of police leaving the force. So that's creating a lawless environment out here to where people are contemptuous, ignorant, and violate the law and just do whatever they want. The love of many waxing cold, like we just read. The city recently announced a reduction of police presence in this neighborhood despite mass-scale crime, and because iniquity shall abound, the love of many waxes cold. It makes me sad that I'm now avoiding San Francisco, a city I used to love. Last time my wife and I went in 2020, a drugged-up person ran up to my wife's face and started screaming some of the most obscene things I've ever heard. She was terrified. During a previous trip, my rental car was broken into and everything was stolen out of our trunk. When calling the police to report the theft, they let us know that this happens hundreds of times per day in the city and said it was our own fault for parking in the street. Because iniquity shall abound, the love of many waxes cold. I grew up in Latin America and spent much of my adult life there, and I never felt this unsafe there. Something has to change in San Francisco. How in the world could we possibly allow things to get this bad? The rest of the world is literally laughing at us. This is Obadiah chapter 1. I'm going to start at verse 1. Edom will be humbled, and the biblical Edomites are known today as these so-called white people. This whole chapter is dedicated to you Edomites. The vision of Obadiah, thus saith the Lord Yahweh concerning Edom. We have heard a rumor from Yahweh, and an ambassador is sent among the heathen. Arise ye, and let us rise up against her in battle. Behold, I have made thee small among the heathen. Thou art greatly despised. On the one hand, these Edomites, they're the smallest demographic numbers of people on the planet globally. And then on the other hand, this is talking about these other nations looking at these Edomites and despising them and looking down on them just for all the wicked practices they've done to exploit people across the planet, and just seeing that now that they're on the decline, hey, that they really ain't shit. So they're mocking them, looking at them as a laughing stock, especially in the United States of America. Just a few decades ago, nobody would have done as much as lift a tongue towards the U.S., but now everybody's talking shit towards the U.S. and not taking them seriously, calling them third world hellholes, a crime-ridden country. The rest of the world is literally laughing at us. Behold, I have made thee small among the heathen. Thou art greatly despised. Sadly, other major cities along the West Coast are also rapidly degenerating right in front of our eyes. The following comes from a Daily Mail article about the open air drug trade that is going on in Portland. From his porch near Dawson Park, he can watch cars pull up, buy drugs, and move on in seconds, all in front of a Baptist church. Almost on cue, half a block away, a black sedan with tinted windows stopped in the middle of the street. A mini-skirted woman leaned through the window before strolling slowly to a parked car to collect something. Meanwhile, a gaggle of men in ragged clothes clustered together, sharing around a small wrap of meth. Nobody wants to raise a family in such an environment, and that is why there's been a mass exodus from Portland in recent years. Unfortunately, our drugstores are not going away anytime soon, our drug problems, even though these drugstores out here are fucking drug pushers as well. Thanks to a severe lack of border security, more drugs come pouring into this country on a daily basis. According to the official website of the state of Texas, in just 12 months, law enforcement authorities were able to capture enough fentanyl to kill every man, woman, and child in the United States. Last year, almost 1,700 Texans lost their lives because of fentanyl. Fentanyl is the number one cause of death in Americans between the ages of 18 and 45. And what group of people is fentanyl mainly affecting? These Edomites. From February 2021 to February 2022, more than 75,000 Americans died as a result of fentanyl-related overdoses. In the past year, Texas law enforcement alone has seized over 342 million lethal doses of fentanyl, enough to kill every man, woman, and child in the United States. This is just in one state. And this is just the curses and the plagues and the punishments of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh further coming on you Edomites in America for all the wickedness you've committed, especially against the apple of his eye, the children of Israel. This is Lamentations chapter 4, verses 21 to 22. Rejoice and be glad, O daughter of Edom, that dwellest in the land of Uz. The cup also shall pass through unto thee. Thou shalt be drunken, and thou shalt make thyself naked. Hey, the children of Israel have been under the curses due to us being hard-headed and rebellious towards our power, Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. Hence, why you Edomites and other heathens were able to rule over us and abuse us, but we're at the end of our final captivity before we're ruling in the kingdom of heaven. Now these curses of Deuteronomy chapter 28 and all these other plagues are starting to get passed on to you heathen nations, especially you Edomites. As it says in Deuteronomy chapter 30, and I will put all these curses upon thine enemies. And what did you Edomites do to the children of Israel, especially the Judites, or so-called African Americans, so-called Negroes of the Southern Kingdom? You flooded their neighborhoods with a lot of drugs, such as crack cocaine, to further build up your prison industrial complex. Just look at the Iran-Contra scandal. In the 80s, the U.S. would give weapons to a right-wing military group in Nicaragua called the Contras, who were fighting against the Sandinistas, who were a left-wing group. And in turn, the Contras had a big hand in the cocaine and drug trade. So they would give drugs to the Americans for weapons from America to fight against the Sandinistas. And then in turn, that cocaine would be turned into crack and would be put into Judite neighborhoods, which that became a very illicit drug trade there. And a lot of crime followed, and a lot of families were broken up due to parents becoming crackheads, children getting addicted to crack and all that. And then those people would be sent to jail to fund the prison industrial complex. Hey, well, now the Most High is turning back these things onto you, with these Edomites out here being addicted to major drugs like fentanyl, and now their families are being broken apart. Their women and men and children are being addicted to drugs, and they're becoming degenerate scumbags out here. And it's a beautiful sight to see. I'm happy to see it continue and get worse. As it says in Sirach in the Apocrypha, chapter 25, one of the greatest things to see is the downfall of your enemy. The punishment of thine iniquity is accomplished, O daughter of Zion. He will no more carry thee away into captivity. He will visit thine iniquity, O daughter of Edom. He will discover thy sins. And if Texas law enforcement was able to intercept this much fentanyl, how much more fentanyl got through that they weren't able to detect? At this point, our nation is literally swimming in fentanyl-laced drugs. In Pennsylvania, one voter recently told THRU.S.A that it is now easier to get fentanyl than it is to get baby formula in Philadelphia. It's easier to get fentanyl than it is to get baby formula in Philadelphia, a voter told surging U.S. Senate candidate THRU.S.A this week. And I also forgot, those Nicaraguans in Central America are also Israelites of the northern kingdom of the tribe of Zebulun. So not only did you afflict the southern kingdom in America by allowing their streets to be flooded with crack cocaine, but you were putting weapons down in Central America to those Zebulunites to orchestrate them killing each other. So that's another tribe of the children of Israel that you had a hand in afflicting. So, and that's another reason why these calamities are coming to you Edomites. This has got to be an exaggeration, right? Well, it's not. And now let's segue into another article on End of the American Dream, just further documenting this fentanyl problem that continues to rise in the U.S. Fentanyl in the Halloween candy. America has a big problem with fentanyl. Edomites have a big problem with fentanyl. It is up to 100 times stronger than heroin. It is insanely addictive, and an amount the size of a grain of rice can potentially kill you. Thanks to fentanyl, overdose deaths have been absolutely exploding all over America in recent years, but this fact is not scaring addicts away. In fact, it appears that more Americans are using it than ever before, and more fentanyl comes flooding into this country with each passing day. Back in Isaiah chapter 24, verse 9, they shall drink wine with a strong drink. Strong drink shall be bitter to them that drink it. Due to the continuing deteriorating situation in the U.S. and people seeing no hope, they're turning to drugs and alcohol to drown out their sorrows. Fentanyl being a big one to these Edomites out here. In fact, it appears that more Americans are using it than ever before, and more fentanyl comes flooding into this country with each passing day. In one recent 12-month period, law enforcement authorities in Texas intercepted enough fentanyl to literally kill every single man, woman, and child in the United States. We have never faced a crisis quite like this before, and now we are learning that fentanyl could even be mixed in with Halloween candy. Yes, that is actually what authorities are telling us. On Wednesday morning, someone tried to get 12,000 pills of fentanyl that were disguised as candy through airport security at LAX. Authorities are again warning parents about the possibility of drugs mixed with candy this Halloween after a big fentanyl bust at LAX. Someone tried to get through security at Los Angeles International Airport with bags of candy that contained some 12,000 pills of fentanyl early Wednesday morning. The opioid pills were contained inside packages of Skittles, Whoppers, and Sweet Tarts. Hey, happy Halloween. The drugs were seized by the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department and Federal Drug Enforcement Agency agents assigned to a task force at the airport. Can you imagine how many people those pills could have potentially killed? Following the arrest, the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department warned parents to make sure that they inspect all Halloween candy that their kids received this year. With Halloween approaching, parents need to make sure they are checking their kids' candy and not allowing them to eat anything until it has been inspected by them, the Sheriff's Department said. Of course, this isn't the first time we have gotten a warning of this nature. Earlier this month, a group of Republican senators specifically warned that rainbow fentanyl pills that look like candy pose a great threat to our children. The other Republican senators in the video include Tennessee Senator Marsha Blackburn, West Virginia Senator Shelley Moore, Capito, Louisiana Senator Bill Cassidy, Nebraska Senator Deb Fisher, Montana Senator Steve Daines, Mississippi Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith, Florida Senator Rick Scott, Alaska Senator Dan Sullivan, Wyoming Senator John Barrasso, Iowa Senator Joni Ernst, Idaho Senator James Risch, and Texas Senator John Cornyn. And you think if this was happening to so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, that there would be such an uproar over it by these Edomites? Of course not. The only reason you're seeing such a big uproar is that it's starting to affect their communities, their people, their parents, their children, their brothers and sisters. Again, the punishment of thine iniquity is accomplished, O daughter of Zion. He will no more carry thee away into captivity. He will visit thine iniquity, O daughter of Edom. He will discover thy sins. I come to you today not only as a U.S. Senator, but as a fellow American concerned about the health of our nation's youth. This Halloween, Marshall says in the video, the powerful drug cartels are coming after your kids, your neighbors, your students, your family members, and your friends. No one is spared as fake pills laced with fentanyl are beginning to look like candy in an effort to lure young Americans, Blackburn continues. Cassidy notes that rainbow fentanyl comes in a variety of bright colors, shapes, and sizes, including pills, powder, and blocks that resemble sidewalk chalk. According to the DEA, these pills are a deliberate effort by drug traffickers to drive addiction amongst kids and young adults. Even just handling these pills or powders masquerading as candy can kill a person, Daines adds. I'm glad those senators decided to make that video because this crisis is very serious. As I noted above, an amount of fentanyl that is equivalent to a grain of rice is potentially enough to kill you. Fentanyl is a drug that's 100 times more potent than heroin, and a dose the size of a grain of sand can kill. When it's prescribed by a doctor, it's measured by the millionth of a gram. In this sort of environment, I don't know why anyone would allow their children to wander the streets asking for candy. Thankfully, it appears that trick-or-treating is starting to go out of style. In fact, 52% of all Americans say they won't be giving out any candy at all this year. As kids get ready for another Halloween night of costumes, candy, and fun memories, many adults say they simply don't have the money to celebrate this year. In a poll of 1,000 Americans, a staggering 52% say they won't be handing out candy to young trick-or-treaters. Out of these Americans, 1 in 4 blame inflation for spoiling this year's festivities, 24%. That shouldn't come as much of a Halloween shocker since inflation rose to a 40-year high earlier in 2022. All the merry-hearted do sigh. The mirth of tabrets ceaseth, the noise of them that rejoice endeth, the joy of the harp ceaseth. Hey, happy Halloween. And just play this clip right here from Clown World's Twitter page. Fair use copyright disclaimer. I do not own any of the footage in this clip, nor the music, nor do I stand to gain from it monetarily. It's simply for educational purposes. But you got this old Edomite from the so-called greatest generation walking through the streets of wherever that is and having his own people mocking at him, flicking off the camera, holding up signs for transformer rights. Hey, you think this is the America he fought for? If he's a veteran, or do you think this is the America he envisioned for his grandchildren? Hey, you Edomites that fought on the so-called good side, the Allies in World War II, the only thing you ended up fighting for was for your elites to throw you under the bus to further establish their NW0. You fought for your sons to become she's and sissies, and you fought for your daughters to get popped by BBCs, if you know what I mean. And what's funny is I dealt with a Edomite chick, and one time when we were laying down, we were watching a movie, and it was a period piece. It took place in the time when Esau was in power, when he was that dude. And there was a scene where this Edomite was professing his love for the Edomite chick. And then the Edomite chick that was next to me said, ugh, I hate white men. They're so disgusting. And I was like, oh, really? Explain further. And she was just like, yeah, white men are just proud and arrogant and think that just because they got all the money, they can call all the shots. She was talking to me, telling me about how she was married to this one Edomite guy. They had a nice house and all that. But since he had all the money, he was calling the shots. So they got a divorce, which, hey, if the man, the man is the head of the household, and the woman should be subservient to the man. But hey, these curses are starting to come onto these Edomites, and one of the curses was that the woman would have a evil eye towards her husband, and we're seeing these Edomite women hate their men and go against them more and more, and it's going to be even more so in the kingdom of heaven. As it says in, I believe it's in Job, it says their widows shall not lament for them, their women shall not care for them. Hey, these Edomite women aren't going to be concerned when they're concubines, the Israelite men, and they're getting that Hebrew franc. But that's it with this article. I'll close it out in Jeremiah chapter 51, verses 7 to 9. Babylon hath been a golden cup in Yahweh's hand, that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine, her philosophies, like capitalism, feminism, socialism, communism, the alphabet group beginning with LG, democracy. Therefore, the nations are mad. Following after the ways of these Edomites in America has bugged out these other nations. Hence, why America and these Edomites as a whole are greatly despised by these nations. They see that following after Western practices has turned their women into whores, broken up their families, and just made them subservient to Edomites. Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. Howl for her, take balm for her pain. If so, she may be healed. We would have healed Babylon, the United States, but she is not healed. Hey, the city of confusion is broken down. Forsake her, and let us go everyone into his own country. For her judgment reacheth unto heaven, and is lifted up even to the skies. There is going to be no build back better or make America great again. We're living in the last seconds of the rulership of America and these Edomites as a whole. All these calamities are going to continue to break down the United States, and then eventually this place is going to be completely fallen and destroyed by those nuclear missiles. So that's it with this video. And with this video, I hope you sincere Akim and Akwath were edified. Just keep strong. As we can clearly see, we're almost out of this final wicked captivity of the heathen nations, chiefly of the Edomites. And as always, I'm going to say Abad Babol, Kwam Yasharala, and until next time, Shalom.